Tell me you like my gray, right? Gray is the best. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for showing up. Today we're going to be talking about some Rosco barrels for your Glock, like in the Gen 5 19 here in that beautiful gray, which you know I'm a huge fan of. So if you do not know who Rosco is, they make barrels for lots of different companies for their rifles and now Glock pistols like this one right here. They also do what's called OEMing. So they'll actually make barrels for people and kind of rebrand them. So if you don't know, that's a pretty common thing. There's not a ton of people that really spin up barrels. So they're often made by several different factories and then rebranded under something else. Pretty common, but the stuff that I have tested from them has always turned out to be top notch. And you can find their barrels in use by companies like ADM, Cobalt Kinetics, and various others that have a really good reputation of producing some very nice rifles. My first experience with Rosco was when I used one of their 13.7 Bloodline sauce packs. What that is, it's the barrel, the bolt, and the gas system for your rifle build. And I used it on that SLR build I did, and that thing turned out sweet. It's not only one of the best looking rifles I own, but I love using it out there on the range because they got that barrel gassed perfectly. Now, fast forward about a year, I found out they were making barrels for the Glock, so I reached out to them and they were cool enough to send out some barrels to do a video on. I got one for the 17 right here. I got one for the Gen 5 19 in the threaded variation, as you can see right there. And then they are making them for the little fellas too, like the 43X here again in that beautiful gray. We have to answer a few questions here. Why would you take and put an aftermarket barrel in something like a Glock? And there's a couple of different reasons for that, because people often ask, well, why would you do that? The stock one's good enough. Yes, I would agree with you. If you're looking for accuracy, you're probably not gonna see it. Although they can test these barrels in some kind of ransom rest to show you how accurate they are, in the human hand, you're probably not gonna see a big difference. What it is gonna do is it's gonna open up options for you. Maybe you wanna run a suppressor or a compensator. If that is the case, you're gonna need to get something that's got the threaded end on it so you can use the suppressor or the compensator of your choosing. Now, if you are building something from the ground up, say you bought a factory frame or you're doing something on your own, you need to choose each individual part. Well, that gives you the opportunity to get a barrel of your choosing, whether it's threaded, non-threaded. Maybe you want some hot looking flutes on there. Maybe you want a different coating. All of those are different options. There are also some other advantages you can get out of aftermarket barrels that a lot of stock barrels might not give you. And lastly, if you're one of the like 1% of people that's probably ever shot out a Glock barrel, especially if you own more than one pistol, that may be a need to step into an aftermarket barrel as well, or just a replacement barrel of any type. But again, there are very few people that are gonna shoot out a Glock barrel, especially more than once. Well, let's move right into the range footage here. So I took this out mostly in that 17 to keep the other two fresh for a giveaway. So in the 17, I ran the 115 grain, 124 grain. I ran the critical duty, critical defense, and I think some G2 ammo through it, all of which ran absolutely flawlessly. I didn't have any problems with it, no issues with the pistol at all. Failures to extract, failure to feed, everything went bang, even with all the different ammo types that I had tried. Now, I was able to get a couple of hundred rounds through this specific 17 because I was testing several different things at once, one of which including that Apex new polymer trigger. Just did a video on that. I will leave it at the build list, or you can search for it in triggers. But I try to test things like this that I'm pretty sure are gonna work in compound with other parts. That way I can get the round count on everything up at the same time. And then if I run into an issue, I can start eliminating piece by piece what the issue might be. Luckily for me, this is mostly a stock girl besides the trigger and the barrel, and she just runs. Now, did I notice an accuracy difference? No, I'm a human. In the human hand, you're probably not gonna see an accuracy difference. Again, you're looking at it for a couple of those reasons. You wanna run a comp, you wanna run a suppressor, you've blown your barrel out, you're building it from the ground up, but there are some other advantages to an aftermarket barrel that you can't get out of some stock barrels. For Glock specifically, some of your older barrels, you can't run certain types of reloads through them safely. That's a good reason to go to an aftermarket barrel. When it comes to match grade barrels like these Rosco ones, there are other advantages as well. Maybe a little bit better coating or materials depending on what you are looking for and what you're going for. You're also gonna get those match grade specs. They're usually gonna have a little bit of a tighter lockup, maybe a little bit more support in that chamber. And those are all things that certain people look for in an aftermarket barrel. Well, let's take a good up close look at these barrels so you can see exactly what you're gonna get out of them, and then we'll start talking about the cost on these things. All right, let's take a good up close look and talk about the specs of these new Rosco barrels. So talk about the coating here first. Again, this is a melanite coating. There's only a couple of hundred rounds here, but you're starting to see kind of right here and then right there, you're starting to see those little bit of a wear pattern. And then again, across the top right there in this area. Not a ton yet, but to give you an idea, there's only a couple hundred rounds through this barrel. And then this is a factory Glock barrel in Gen 5, and I think I've got about 1,000 rounds for this one. And you can kind of see where those wear points turn in and kind of how they show up. So I fully expect this barrel will wear in about the same once I get these same round counts. So talking about the machine work here, it's great. You can see we have some very nice depressions in here. You've got that Rosco logo right across there, minimally done, very tasteful. And that line depression kind of follows all the way up around there, and it is beveled in there, which is quite nice. Then you got your 9x19 logo, and then the inside is obviously plain. So you're chamfered off on all of the hard edges right there, as you can see. But there is also some different parts about the design of this barrel, specifically on the edges right here on both sides and over here on the back edge as well, where it locks up against the breech. Now, what those are is it basically helps alleviate wear as the pistol cycles. So as the slide is reciprocating, this allows it to glide more easily over the barrel so you don't have issues. You're also gonna get a little bit better of a feed ramp here. It's a little bit dirty right there, but gonna do everything you're gonna need to do, and then it's obviously gonna be completely SAMI spec. All right, we'll take a look at one that's actually in a pistol on this 19 right here. So as you can see, that is the threaded version. It does come with the thread protector on it. And it's got a very nice, clean look to it right there. So well done if you're looking for that kind of a stealth look on it, but still gives you a little bit of that aesthetic with the logo and everything. So the barrel is melanite coated, which is much like a DLC, stuff like that, nitride. The material on it is going to be 416R stainless, which is good stuff. It's honed, polished, and then it's coated. So very well done there, broach rifled. It's got a deep target crown on it. Try and get you a good view of that here. So you can see that target crown right there in the barrel. So basically what that is for is should you be out there running around doing some hardcore training and you auger this into the earth because you're doing something cool, then that protects the rifling inside that barrel, that little bit of a depression, that angular cut in there. It's gonna help out with that. So very good there. Check out the little guy here. Pretty interesting if you're into having a custom barrel on your little mini-me 43X there, but definitely a cool set of barrels. So let's go ahead and start talking about the cost between all these three different versions and that final overall performance. All right, we know the specs, we know they run, we know what they look like. So let's start talking about Cash Money American, what these things are going to cost for us. I'm looking the price up right here as I'm talking to you to make sure I get it right. And it depends on what size, either the 43 or the 17, and what options they have, threaded or non-threaded. But if you're looking online, and I'll have links for you that you can find all these things at, for the 43, you're gonna find them right around 150. And they kind of vary in price all the way up to the 17 threaded version, which I saw for 165. That's not bad at all. I've paid far more for Glock barrels, and I have paid far less for Glock barrels. Are you gonna get what you're paying for? Absolutely. Can you find them cheaper? Absolutely. Can you find Glock barrels way more expensive? Absolutely. Now, to answer the question of, is it worth it to throw a brand new barrel in your brand new Gen 5 Glock? That's completely up to you. Do you wanna run a comp? Do you wanna run a suppressor? Do you just need a new barrel, want a new barrel, or maybe you bought the frame, because you can buy just the frame out there and build it with whatever slide, internals, barrel trigger, everything that you want. If you're looking for that, it's probably gonna be worth it to you. If you have a brand new Glock and you don't need a new barrel, I don't know, maybe you like the looks, maybe you wanted something different, maybe you wanna shoot those different reloads. Completely up to you. All I have to say is it works, it runs, it did everything I would expect it to do, and it's ultimately up to you if you want to spend your hard-earned money on it. I guess that would be like the total non-answer answer, because I'm not going to tell you what and where to spend your money. I am, however, extremely curious if you've had a chance to run Rosco barrels of any type at this point. I ran that 13.7 in the SLR build, and it is beautifully gassed for that setup. And I also ran that 12.5 K9 barrel that Sage Dynamics teamed up with them on in my Cobalt rifle. Video on that whole build coming real soon, but I got the barrel video and that SLR video all the way up. You can check those out. But I want to know what your experience has been down below, because anytime a company starts producing new things, I keep my eye on the market to see if anybody else out there is having issues. So their rifle barrels, pretty much well established, but the Glock barrels are really new. So let me know down in the comments. Well, that is what I have for you all today. Make sure you get subbed up down there. Turn the notification icons on. If you want to support the channel, you can use any of those links down below, any of the links at my webpage. Yes, I have a webpage, tacticalconsiderations.com. It's got all the videos, all the parts, all the links, everything you can want right there to check out, plus all those discount codes and everything like that. Tell me you like my gray, right? Gray is the best. Get out there on the range, have some fun. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.